Welcome back, sports fans. In this segment, I'm going to be discussing at some length last year's game. I'm going to go over Matt Stafford's history against the Cardinals and talk about Kyler Murray's game against the Lions last year. Last year's game was dominated by the Lions pretty much for almost 3.5 quarters. With about 10 minutes to go, they had a 24-6 lead. The Cardinals marched down and kicked a field goal with actually under 6 minutes to go to make it 24-9. Still looked like the Lions were going to win, to be sure. Why wouldn't they? They just won there the year before, held the Cardinals without a touchdown, were very dominant. Not only that, it was Kyler Murray's first NFL start. However, what ended up happening is with 2:39 to go, the Cardinals partially blocked a punt after they had scored a touchdown and held the Lions, and then Larry Fitzgerald had a touchdown reception with 43 seconds to go. Cardinals made the 2-point conversion, and suddenly it was a tie game. Cardinals took the lead in overtime. The Lions came back to tie them. However, time ran out, and the game ended in a tie. Was not a good way for the Lions to start their season, and that was a trend that carried throughout the season while Matt Stafford played and after Matt Stafford was out. Also last year, no Lion rushed for more than 50 yards in a game. For the Lions to win this year, I stated earlier that they'd have to hold the Cardinals to 125 yards or less. However, they're going to have a running back have more than 50 yards. Adrian Peterson last week had only 9 carries for 41 yards, and he was the leading rusher for the Lions. That will need to change dramatically. The Lions will definitely need to have ball control, which they did not have last week, as the Packers held the ball for almost 35 minutes. If something like this last week's game happens this week, it's not going to bode well for the Lions, to be sure. One good note that happened, or one good thing that happened, was that TJ Hawkinson had his first NFL reception last year. He also had 131 yards receiving, which I believe is his career high in a game so far in his young career. Danny Amendola had 104 yards receiving with a touchdown. And the two of them are going to have to do at least, or they're going to have at least that many yardage, or that many yards, and I would say probably a touchdown each, depending on how the game goes. Also, Kenny Golladay may very well be a key, but as I stated in the last segment, he's not 100%, and last year he only had, I believe it was 43 yards receiving against the Cardinals. So that's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, if he plays, that will free up receivers like Danny Amendola and TJ Hawkinson. But Marvin Jones Jr. didn't do that much last year, and it basically came down to, in the production, in the receiving game, came down to TJ Hawkinson and Danny Amendola. And I think they're going to have to do more than that this year if the Lions are going to have any kind of chance to beat the Cardinals. Because, like I said earlier, the Cardinals' offense is better. I believe they may be stronger, and they have DeAndre Hopkins. And again, the Lions' defense is not as strong as it was last year. Also, of note, is Devin Kennard, who had 3 sacks of Kyler Murray in last year's game, is now with the Cardinals. And you know he's going to be seeking revenge on the Lions. And as I stated at the time that the Lions released him, I thought that was a mistake. I still believe it's a mistake, and I think we're going to see tomorrow why it was a mistake. Packers had 5 sacks of Matt Stafford last week. The Cardinals had 5 sacks of Matt Stafford, although be it in 5 quarters, last year. Lions must protect Matt Stafford. They need to do so anyway if he's going to have any kind of longevity as a Lion beyond what he's had. But also, if the Lions don't run the football, there's going to be too much pressure on Matt Stafford, and this game could get ugly. And yes, I potentially could see this as a blowout loss. It's definitely possible. The Cardinals are that good a team. Last year's game, like I said, was Kyler Murray's first start in the NFL. It was his first game in the NFL, actually. He had over 300 yards passing, albeit in 5 quarters. It wasn't a bad job by the Lions. Larry Fitzgerald had 113 yards receiving. That was a pretty good job by the Lions considering where they were in pass defense last year. However, the Lions are going to have to do a little bit better job on him, but they're going to have to key in DeAndre Hopkins. They need to double team him. I don't know if they will or not, but if I were them, I would double team him. I would try to make sure he doesn't beat me, for sure, if I were Matt Patricia. And if the Lions are able to run the football and limit the Cardinals as much as they possibly can, I think they have a shot at winning this game. It's not going to be easy, and they've got their work cut out for them to avoid their first 0-3 start since 2015, I believe it is, that they started. So, we'll see. In the next segment, I will give my predictions, or I will give my prediction for this game. Stay tuned on Detroit Lions tomorrow on Ed's Sports Channel.